PREVAILS Church for an hour filled with inspiration, wisdom, and faith. It is a platform where we delve into stories of remarkable women who blossom and thrive through grace, beauty, and modesty.
As we embark on this incredible journey together, we draw inspiration from Proverbs 31, 10 to 12. In a world where noble character is a rare gem, there shines a woman who embodies the essence of Proverbs 31.
Join us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we embark on an interactive session like no other.
Introducing the Woman of Excellence Show. Join us for the Woman of Excellence Show.
Because you, my friend,
are a woman of excellence. Are you ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted? Get ready for a brand new show that celebrates the incredible journey of women everywhere.
From the comfort of your home, interact with us through our YouTube and Facebook channel, Jesus Prevails Church, for an hour filled with inspiration, wisdom, and faith. It is a platform where we delve into stories of remarkable women who blossom and thrive through grace, beauty, and modesty.
As we embark on this incredible journey together, we draw inspiration from Proverbs 31, 10 to 12. In a world where noble character is a rare gem, there shines a woman who embodies the essence of Proverbs 31.
Join us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we embark on an interactive session like no other.
Introducing the Woman of Excellence Show. Join us for the Woman of Excellence Show.
Because you, my friend,
are a woman of excellence.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to this show. It's good to have you back again. It's another year, 2024, and from us, we are wishing you a happy new year. It's been long since we were here. So karibu tena, karibu sana, tunakaribisha on this Woman of Excellence show. And my name is Miriam Wambua, and we have amazing topics that we prepared for you for the whole of this year. And I know utafurahia sana. We are going to learn, interact, and just let us engage, let us keep on commenting on the comment button. So before I go any further, let me allow my co-host to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Susan Calisto. It is always a joy to have you and a pleasure to have you with us yet again for the show. So today is our first episode this year, and we are excited, we are happy, and we can't wait to share all that we have in store for you guys this year. So we are just going to go straight into our business of the day today. Our topic today is the women of the Bible. And you're going to start with Esther. The book Esther, the woman Esther. So yes, we have to be women of excellence. So for us to be women of excellence, we have to really find the excellence in the Bible. Because where else would we be referring it to?
And the women of the Bible are the best examples that we look up to.
Yes. And God has used them, has taught them. So we have to borrow those lessons to our lives, because literally God was using them to speak to us. So Esther. So when we talk about Esther, guys, what comes to your mind? What's the first thing that jumps into your mind when we say Esther? Like for me, I could say, when I say Esther, I remember from my CRE teacher, Esther means star. So it's the first thing that comes to mind when we say Esther. So what about you?
Me, when I hear the name Esther, I just see beauty. Esther, she was a very beautiful lady. So when Esther is mentioned somewhere, what gets in my mind is a very beautiful woman. And the Bible talks about her as a beautiful woman. And Esther was a Jewish woman, right? She was a Jewish woman who found herself in a Persian island. She found herself in a foreign island. And I have known Esther also as a woman who found favor before a king.
That's amazing. So so Esther is it's an interesting book. I didn't know how interesting it was until I started studying it, not just reading it so that I can know the events and I can be able to say the name of that king who has a very hard name.
A very interesting book indeed.
Yes.
It's only in the book of Esther that we get to learn about, but the book of Esther has romance in it, has there is a feast in the book of Esther. There is a session where there is prayer. There is celebrations. You've seen the celebrations in the book of Esther. And what else we have in the book of Esther?
We also have death.
We have
uplifting of people,
sacrifices,
people who are in exile also. So I think it's a lot. There is a lot going on in those very few chapters, and we mostly just skip them. We don't pay too much attention to them. When I say with me, it's me wale me kitambo. Now I'm different.
Now you're very keen
now
about
I know. Now I know that Esther is a different kind of book. So we join us with this ride, and just to give a historical setting on how the book of Esther found itself, because we have to know. We have to know, where is this Esther coming from? What are the things surrounding Esther? And why are we talking about Esther? Where did Esther wake up from? So Esther starts, the history setting of Esther is that the Israelites were captured by Babylonians. Nilikuwa nimesema Papillon, but it's Babylonians. They were captured by Babylonians a while back. And when they stayed there in exile for a while, not a while, for a long while.
For a long time,
yes.
In the exile.
The empire, the Babylonian empire, was also overthrown by a Persian. And the Persian took over now the entire area where the Babylonians had settled and had captured the Israelites. Now, some of the Israelites went back to Jerusalem. Alafu, kuna wale waliamua tu wakae tu hapo. So, kwa hao wenye waliamua tu wakae hapo, ni kina Esther.
Amongst them were Esther and Mordecai.
Yes, amongst them were Esther and Mordecai. Na wakakaa mahali panaitwa Shushan. It's not Susan. It's not Susa. It's Susa in another language, but it's Shushan.
It's Susa when you write it, but it's pronounced as Shusha, right?
Yes, Shushan. So they stayed in Shushan is where the Persians had taken over. It was a capital of a city called Elam. And come here this time we have Nino. So Elam, the capital was Shushan. And that city, Shushan, is where now some of the Jews were highly populated under the Persian rule. So your city, Shushan, there was a citadel, a fortress, a palace. And that palace now is where the King Xerxes or Artaxerxes reigned.
Artaxerxes.
The one.
The way you pronounce it is our.
Xerxes. And Xerxes had a wife, a queen called Vashti. Yes. So it was a whole kingdom. And I think Esther is one of the few books that is written away from the Israelites' rule. So here you'll not see priests or prophets or anything related to what we are used to. So Esther was literally in a foreign country with a foreign built and tradition way, because now it was under the Persian rule. So even the palace, the rules, everything was
just different.
Yes.
She was a foreign, like she was a foreigner. Yes. Because even her race was different in that place. She was just a whole different. And the Bible says Esther used to stay with her cousin who is Mordecai. Esther is an orphan. So she had a guardian who was Mordecai. And Mordecai was a Benjamite. Is a Benjamite or a Benjamite? Okay, a Benjamite
from the tribe of the Benjamin.
Yes, yeah. So she used to stay with her cousin. So she was brought up by her cousin because her parents died. I don't know if you have an idea for me. I don't know when exactly her parents died. Aliachwa akiwa how old?
Hapo tutaendelea homework later.
But for what you have for now is that alikuwa amereziwa na the cousin, and then the cousin Mordecai. So then she finds herself in a foreign country, and then Mordecai used to work at
the citadel, at the palace.
He had a position there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So at that time, there was Mordecai throughout the Mordecai had a position.
Yeah, he had influence in the palace. And another fun fact about Shushan, the city, is that it's not the only time it's mentioned in the Bible. You remember when Nehemiah was a cupbearer? He was a cupbearer in Shushan with King Darius.
Yeah.
Was it King Darius? Yes, he was the cupbearer. Sorry, he was the cupbearer of a king in the same place. That's when he had the news that Jerusalem, the walls had been broken. Then he had to go back. But at that time, it was still in that city. Also, it's also mentioned when Daniel had a vision. And he said, "I was taken to the city of Shushan." So at the capital of Elam. So hizo vitu ni interesting because we never really knew them at all. So that is basically where Esther is built upon. That's where we find Esther. Esther, we find her as a Jew, as a minority in a country of Persians, and the uncles suddenly may have a job in the palace. And they are trying to get by day by day. And
she has also a community of Jews around her. People who are also looking up to her.
Nika alienda tu akatafuta. Nika walikuwa naishi pamoja hivyo. So the Jews, she was a Jew.
She was a Jew.
And also
because her name before initially was Hadassah.
But there this time we are calling her Hadassah.
Before she got now her new name Esther, she was Hadassah.
That's true.
So Hadassah was her Jewish name. So there's no way they could have used Hadassah because I think angejulikana.
That's true. We needed to look like them, even though we are not them. So at the time, Esther was at the time when Mordecai was working at the palace. So there was a rift that began. Okay. In chapter 1 of Esther, we start where there is a ceremony. There's a feast going on
for around 7 days.
And then the king summons the wife, Queen Vashti, to come. Alafu akimuita, Vashti anona no, me, I will not be shown off to other people. Me, I have my own things.
She must have been a very pretty lady.
She was beautiful.
You can imagine someone summoning you to come and
to show you off.
Yes, show you off.
So she was very beautiful, of course. So, but akakata, akasema yeye ataki, akadismiss the order that the king had sent through the eunuchs.
And before you just go, the most interesting part about Vashti was that King Xerxes, you said Xerxes, right?
Xerxes.
It's like in Persian tradition, it was okay that he was doing his own bash there, and also Vashti was having her own.
She was doing her own things there.
The king and queen, but they all have different bashes at the same time.
That was such a family.
Very, very interesting family indeed.
So.
So the king summons Vashti, and then she refuses.
She refuses. She says no. So the king gets very angry, and at that time, according to because now we are working with the Persian Empire, because even the Bible starts by describing how magnificent the empire looked, the palace, the citadel looked like. So at that time, the word of the king was law. You cannot revoke it. You remember like Daniel with the den of lions? If you don't worship him, you are thrown to the den of lions.
When he passes a decree,
nothing no one could say about it unless God comes in. So in this case, the king said, the man who shall be the ruler of the house, whatever the man says, is what happens to every household.
This is after King Vashti refused to go.
I
think they thought the fact that she has refused to go, she had an influence. So her refusing to go would have given influence to other women, even those in higher rankings.
It was a threat to the king.
Yeah, it was a threat.
So akasema no, there's nothing like that. And from that point, Vashti was removed from being queen. Yeah. So she akakuwa ni kama divorced.
That was really a tough place to be, Annie. Then you are the queen. But she was a queen, but she didn't really have power over the king.
No, she did not have
overall ruler.
That's true. So then as we continue with the story, now the king is in search of a queen. So we need to find beautiful women who can become the
virgins.
Beautiful virgins.
To access for virgins in the village.
The pure ones.
And by the way, the Bible says that this place was a very huge, it's like it's 127 provinces, like kind of cities.
Pasha
was a very,
Pasha took to rule was a very big place.
So you can imagine that that's in such kind of setup now, such a country. I think was it almost like a continent, I would say.
Yeah.
127 provinces is a very huge place.
That's true. And Shushan is the current Iran. We have done homework, guys.
Shushan is the current Iran, because initially it used to be Shushan. Persia.
It was ruled by the Persians, but it was Shushan. But right now, when you go there, you'll be going to Iran.
Now it's currently called Iran. So finding a beauty in such a place, you can imagine how many people came to contest for beauty. A lot.
Very beautiful women, beautiful women that the king will just see and love for no reason. That is some sort of kind of favor, because you are not supposed to be just picked out of plain sight. Auoneshi CV, auoneshi resume, auoneshi kitu.
It's so interesting. It's just like in our current life today, beauty. Okay, saizi we don't live that way. There's no king is going to tell you to parade. You go.
It's only Nigerian movies.
Now it is imebaki kwa movies. Yeah, but in those times that was such an honorable thing. So if to be even one of those contestants, hata kama utachaguliwa, just being part of that contesting team, ilikuwa a very big thing.
Yeah.
So now the king orders for the virgins to be gathered,
to be brought to him.
He sends now
anatafuta candidates. And imagine the candidate, the person who sees an opportunity is Mordecai. Anasema bede nikona msichana mali naweza mninio. Nika venye someone looks for a job for you and sema nikona mtu mali anaweza fanya hii kazi. So Mordecai did the exact thing for Esther. Sema nikona msichana mahali naweza kuletea anakaa vizuri. And akwa naangalia the status. He was not he believed so much in Esther that he could mention her. Unasikianga mention my name in big tables. Mordecai did that for Esther, literally. He mentioned her in a big table. And as we continue,
Esther was such a very beautiful lady from a very humble background. You know, you are living with your cousin. Imagine your cousin, and your cousin invites you to go to the palace, to be amongst the contestants for the king's wife. As she's never been in a palace before. You know, you're being introduced to a life that you've never been before, you've never seen before. You are just an orphan. When you're just waiting for your cousin to come and bring food, eat, and that's it.
Imagine. So the cousin believes greatness for Esther, and it's how many of your cousins would do that? Literally.
Yeah, even the people closest to you.
Even the people closest to you. How many will do that? But Mordecai was ready to mention the cousin there. Now, as you digest all that information that we have given you, we'll take a short break, then come back with more.
Yeah.
There's much more in store.
So much more in store. So don't sit that by. Please keep it on. You're coming back.
Yes.
Are you ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted? Get ready for a brand new show that celebrates the incredible journey of women everywhere.
From the comfort of your home, interact with us through our YouTube and Facebook channel, Jesus Prevails Church, for an hour filled with inspiration, wisdom, and faith. It is a platform where we delve into stories of remarkable women who blossom and thrive through grace, beauty, and modesty.
As we embark on this incredible journey together, we draw inspiration from Proverbs 31, 10 to 12. In a world where noble character is a rare gem, there shines a woman who embodies the essence of Proverbs 31.
Join us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we embark on an interactive session like no other.
Introducing the Woman of Excellence Show. Join us for the Woman of Excellence Show.
Because you, my friend,
Are a woman of excellence. Are you ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted? Get ready for a brand new show that celebrates the incredible journey of women everywhere.
From the comfort of your home, interact with us through our YouTube and Facebook channel, Jesus Prevails Church, for an hour filled with inspiration, wisdom, and faith. It is a platform where we delve into
Welcome back. For those who are not around, we were talking about the book of Esther, the setting of the Israelites at the time of the book of Esther, and we were also talking about the journey of Esther and who Esther is and the setting that she is found in. And we had reached where the king has to choose a queen, and Esther is among the virgins that were to be chosen. And now as we continue is that she finds favor in the eyes of the king. And then she's taken, and now ni masaa ya kugrumiwa kukua queen.
Kukua queen. The most interesting about that part of grooming, the Bible says it took them 12 months, or there's a part that's saying it took around 12 months. It takes 12 months for them to be groomed, just be prepared for the king. Make sure that they are spotless, glowing and everything. So Esther was among those virgins that were being prepared for the king. And the most interesting part about it is like she found favor. She just found favor before the eyes of the king. I think Esther didn't struggle with this, Nini. How she just, from the initial stage when she just started, when she was in the contest itself, already there was a breakthrough, because already the favor of God was on her already.
So it's interesting. I think when you were talking, about how a nobody can actually just end up in a position of a queen. It's mind-blowing. It's not something that happens every day.
You're just rising up from a nobody, from just zero, and then you go. Because most of the time, those positions are from, for you to be a queen, you have to come from a royal family. You have a background of royalty.
From this royalty to this other royalty, or this big family
to another big family.
But this one was just no one.
No parents. Imagine it, not even no parents. So even they ask you, where are you from? You don't have parents. You are being taken care of with your cousin. So Esther rises from that point of humility, point of loneliness, where you are down, like you feel you are just a nobody. That's a point where Esther rises. God rises her from that point to a point of royalty, a point of being a queen.
And as we continue, I see a comment from Abraham. Yes, we asked, what comes to your mind when you talk about the book of Esther? And Abraham says, Esther is a book of feasts. First, there was the extravagance of a 6-month-long drinking feast for the army and the princes of the 127 provinces. Now that's the banquet that the king was holding when Esther is starting, so that he invites Vashti. That's the one we are talking about. This was immediately followed by a 7-day drinking feast for inhabitants of the palace. That is Esther 1 verse 5, with a separate feast for the women, the one Vashti was holding. This latter being the occasion of the demise of Vashti. the king held another feast upon accession of the Queen Esther. Yeah. So there are so many celebrations going on in this palace.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
One after the other.
The Bible says after King Ahasuerus, they held the last 7 days. The last 7 days celebration was. I think he was still drunk.
Yeah,
you call it hangover. That's when he realized he had dismissed Vashti. Now he needs to find a wife. Yeah.
So even as you continue, he has found a wife now. So we are continuing with the story of Esther, where sasa anakuwa groomed to become a queen. Yeah, and as she's being groomed to become a queen, we were talking about the process. It might look overnight, it might look ni kama ameomoka, but
there's like a process in between that wasn't easy.
Yeah. Because there's a part that she has to lose her culture. Because as we'll see, it's like the same way we usually say, hey, we are menda maju, ameomoka.
Yeah, but you forget about the process.
Yes, when you think about the process, this is a person who has left home, left the people they know, left their culture, left their identity. She's no longer called Hadassah. Now she has to be called Esther. So for that process, it's not also easy. You have to be in a point of yielding to, or in a point of obedience. Yeah, like what we were just saying right now. You have to look stupid to everyone else.
Yes.
And actually just trust in what God has put in the path that God has put.
We said you have to stop using your common sense and now let God guide you. Yeah, don't fight it.
Because if Esther fought it, if Esther said, I'm a Jew, I have to keep my name Hadassah, or if Esther said, me, I can't live in a Persian palace,
she had an option, of course, to do that. She could have, if it was about her own interests, she could have done that.
Yeah.
But the good thing was Esther, it was not about her, it was about her people. Yeah. So there are sacrifices that she made throughout this process of being a queen. It wasn't just as easy as that. Yeah. There are sacrifices she made along the way. There's things that she had to do for her people to be saved.
That's true. That's true. So it is important to note that even as much as you call it kuomoka, the transition period is not as easy.
No, it isn't.
There was a transition period that Esther had to go through. And she had to wear the shoes of a queen, even when she had never been anything important in her life.
Yeah.
So for her to get to that position, I think we will keep, as we continue with the rest of the shows, we will keep expounding on that and showing how much responsibility and pressure she had to overcome because she had to be a queen at the end of the day. Yeah, so it is important to note that and also to as you continue to remember.
No, for me, I just feel like Esther, apart from her just allowing herself to be in this context and doing this just not for herself, but for her people. For me, I find Esther was an obedient lady. Even before she was, for me, I found her as an obedient woman. Because that one, you cannot embark on such a task if you are not obedient. You cannot embark on such a task if you are not at a level of humility. Because if you go into a palace, a palace for me, it's a place where not just a royal place. There are laws in the palace that you need to adhere to. There's a lifestyle there that if you are going to live there, you have to readjust yourself. How you carry yourself, how you dress, how you talk, and everything about you has to change. So for me, this point for me also was sacrificial for Esther, just letting herself be married to a king. And for me, literally, I don't think I can enjoy being in that position. Why? You know why? Because can you imagine how the king dismisses the other wife just like that?
Yeah.
Because he had married Vashti. And then just like that, it means someone calls you and you refuse and then you are done being a wife.
Yeah, and we were even looking at how this king operated, that you could not meet the king. The laws of the land. You could not meet the king unless he has summoned for you.
Yeah.
So you imagine, even as a wife, you have to follow such rules. Yeah. So for her to be in such a position,
and the law for refusing to go if you've been summoned was you die, right?
Yeah.
It was that
you
bad.
are overthrown like that.
Unarushwa hivyo. So it wasn't really, for me, that was not really a good environment for her. So for Esther, there's a place she says, if I perish, I perish.
Yeah. Because
that was not an easy journey for her. But she had also faith in God. Esther was a woman of God, so she had faith in God. You know, kusema tu eti, if I perish, I perish. There's another verse in the Bible. If I remember it, I'll mention. If I remember it, I'll quote about the same. If I perish, I perish.
Yeah. So that was just to the point at which Esther is made queen. Just to that is just chapter 2. And all those events are going and running back and forth. So you can imagine now, something else comes up. So as Mordecai is working with, works at the palace. So every time you enter the palace, you are supposed to bow down to a man called Haman. He was a representative of the king. So in the same way that you are supposed to bow down to a king, you are supposed to bow down to Haman as he represents the king. So one day Mordecai is going to work, and he needs to.
So Haman was a dictator. For me, I find Haman to be a dictator.
Well, Haman had other things. He had his problems. But now he refuses to bow at the gate. And every time he refuses to bow at the gate, he created, is it rage in his heart? Spite. Rage and spite. And inakuwa na spite na kiwa na Haman. And Haman asks him, why are you not bowing down? And he clearly says, the only reason he gives is that I'm a Jew. So he's like, okay, Haman is like, fine. Then in his head, I'm sure he's like, I'll know how to deal with you. Not just you and your people. Tapambana now. So he makes an edict, and he tries to convince the king to seal it, that every Jew should be killed. So, okay, as we continue, there are more.
Get for comments from the viewers.
Yes. Queen Vashti is summoned by Xerxes, but refuses to come, leading to consequences. The story prompts reflection on our response when God calls us. Okay? There's a question of obedience when God calls us, according to Abraham. And Abraham continues to say, Esther chapter 4, verse 16, go gather all Jews who are present in Shushan and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, neither for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. So we are there where there is a decree that all Jews should be killed. And now wakona mtu kwa serikali na wanamwaminia,
mtu anawatetea.
So Mordecai does what? Goes and pleads with Esther and tells Esther, please intervene for us. Are you able to talk to plead with the king so that us, the Jews, could be spared? So I like the first prompt that Esther takes. She acknowledges it. Even though I'm in a powerful position, it will not be through my strength that the king will plead with you guys. You have to help me to pray. You have to fast.
She acknowledges God, the power of God in the whole situation.
She may not mention him, but then we forgot to say that God is not mentioned in the entire book. But he's present throughout every step, from the queen being removed to Esther finding favor on a mere man, and then to move again to
to a point where she's now the queen.
Yes, to a point where she's now the queen, and then she moves again to a point now where she needs to find favor before the king for a whole decree that is made upon a whole group of people, the Jews.
People, yeah.
So, first of all, it's also important to note that this time that Esther was asking them to fast was during the month of Nisan.
Yeah.
It was a Passover period.
Yeah.
It was a time of feasting.
And during Passover, people don't fast.
People don't fast. But now these ones, she asked them to fast. And when she asked them to fast, she knew that going to the king without being summoned by the king, it is almost suicidal. That's why she said, if I perish, I perish.
That was suicidal by
and the only act,
took the risk.
Yeah, she took a very big risk. And the only act that the king will do to show that he has found favor before you, so that you don't die when you go before him, that he has spared your life, even though he didn't call you into his presence, was the act of the scepter going on their shoulders. There's something the Bible says in Esther chapter 4, where the king had to take his golden scepter and place it on Esther. Because he says when he saw Esther, he was pleased in his eyes and called Esther to himself and placed the scepter on her. Yeah, and through that we see favor. There is favor upon Esther already, even before she says the problem. Literally, what God does to us, that he answers even
before us.
Yes, he answers even before we even pray. Yeah, so I think it's an important place to note. So their teachings on Esther are
so Esther finds favor.
Yeah.
Esther finds favor before. So we learn that it doesn't really matter from where you are, from where you come from. When God can use you in however you are, even in that place of brokenness, in that place of lawlessness, in that place of no identity, you're feeling like you are. You're just a nobody. For me, the story of, when I read the story of Esther, especially what you've talked about today, I get to know that just at a point where we are in life, we don't need to have a certain class or to be in a certain position or even to rely on connections. Okay, fine, I understand that Mordecai was like a destiny connector for Esther. I really understand that. But still, Mordecai just did his part to bring Esther, but the remaining part, it was God. It was God who was in it. And also God is the one who used Mordecai. So there's a point that God covers you with his favor, that you are able to go through to go through positions or ranks in life without needing connection, to be in any kind of status or whatever. For Esther, she rose from such to be in that position. Yeah. For me, I find that to be that's a favor of God. That takes God. For me.
And that is just a quarter of the overview of the book of Esther. So as we continue with the show, like the next show and the show after, we'll talk about different things that have come up in the book of Esther. We'll talk about what it is that they call beauty, because we are all saying Esther was beautiful. So how will you define beauty as a woman? Even as we go on, we'll still want to know the place of those people that she has called destiny connectors. What was the place of Mordecai in Esther's life? Yeah. We will also want to know about the women in authority and women in leadership, women in places, huge places of influence. Last time we were talking about small places of influence. So now we need to know what is God doing with the women
in those higher
ranks. If you're a woman in a place of influence, if you can count a whole group of people that literally rely on you and rely in the next paper you will pass or the next law you will give or the next directive you will give, if there are people's life that depend on that, women in leadership, how do you exercise, how do you navigate that? So this was to remind us to go and research. You do your homework on the book of Esther. We go and study what God is saying in this season in the book of Esther. Study what God is trying to teach us as women of excellence in the book of Esther. What our influence is giving, who we are, how do we carry ourselves, because Esther had to change her entire the way she carries herself. She had to become a queen. So are you carrying yourself like Hadassah or like Esther? So it's a whole exciting journey ahead of us. I am excited. We apologize for the technical difficulties that we've had today. It's the first one. We can only go up. Yeah, we can only go up. So we are excited, and we'd love to see you again and again. And please talk to us, like, share, and comment. Let's learn together.
Subscribe there on our YouTube channel as Jesus Prevails Church MILIMANI.
Yes.
Yeah. So good to see you. For now, I think we call it.
Yeah, we are wrapping up the show at this juncture.
Yeah. So we are still talking about the book of Esther. In the next episode, we will chambua more. We'll be going deeper. Yes, we'll be going deeper. That's the word. On our next episode, next week on Tuesday, the same time, we will be here from 7. Today, as Sue has apologized, we had a technical problem, and we are really sorry about that. So see you next time, the same hour. God bless you, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Good evening.
Are you ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted? Get ready for a brand new show that celebrates the incredible journey of women everywhere.
From the comfort of your home, interact with us through our YouTube and Facebook channel, Jesus Prevails Church, for an hour filled with inspiration, wisdom, and faith. It is a platform where we delve into stories of remarkable women who blossom and thrive through grace, beauty, and modesty.
As we embark on this incredible journey together, we draw inspiration from Proverbs 31:10-12. In a world where noble character is a rare gem, there shines a woman who embodies the essence of Proverbs 31.
Join us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we embark on an interactive session like no other.
Introducing the Woman of Excellence Show. Join us for the Woman of Excellence Show.
Because you, my friend,
are a woman of excellence.